Download your marbling instruction kit from the library website. In the kit sent to you, you will find a number of small capsules of coloured ink and 2 or 3 sheets of thicker white paper. You will need the following materials: a shallow baking tray about 50mm deep and must be large enough to float a sheet of A4 paper, which is about 210 by 300mm, a bamboo skewer or a few toothpicks. At the end of each activity in the video, you can pause the course until you finish that activity. Once you have finished, press the play button to continue. There is no need to rush, there is plenty of time. Here are some samples that have been done using the same method being shown today. Keep it simple for the moment. Once you have become familiar with the technique, start exploring different colours, different ink brands, and paper or silk sheets. Examples of more formal designs using bookmaking in the 19th century. These examples are much more demanding to create and a lot of skill to create. Something to aspire to be able to create these beautiful detailed designs. Here are some design samples in the traditional Japanese style. Get your tray and fill it with approximately 25mm of room temperature water. Let it come to rest, and with a sheet of clean paper, gently drag the paper across the water to make sure that there is no dust particles floating on the surface. Also, make sure that there are no air bubbles in the water. To remove the air bubbles, gently tap the side of the tray. Today, we are going to experiment with using paper to capture the design, but the same technique can also be used with fine silk cloth. At the end of the instruction sheet you downloaded, there is a recipe on how to make your own ink. The method that is introduced here is a simpler form of the traditional method. If you use the ink sparingly, you will have enough ink to create another 1 or 2 designs. Here we are going to be using drops of coloured ink, and we control the blending of the design using your breath or moving the skewer through the ink solution. Before you place any ink onto the water, make sure that there is no dust on the water surface or there is no air bubbles in the water. Make sure the water is completely calm before starting to add the ink. Cut a small disc of paper about 1 centimetre in diameter and float it on top of the water. Place the nozzle onto the surface of the paper disc and gently squeeze the bottle. Don't drop the ink high above the water. Place 1 ink drop on the surface of the water and then another coloured ink. Place a drop on top of the first or beside it. Using a skewer, run it through the ink slowly to create the pattern. Proceed until you have an interesting design. Try not to knock the side of the tray as it sends ripples across the water. Place a sheet of the supplied paper on top of the pattern and wait a few seconds for the ink to be absorbed into the paper. Gently lift the floating paper off the water and you have captured the design on the paper. Let the paper dry for a few hours. To make another new creation, you will have to change the water. Try doing a design by softly blowing the ink around the water. The design can be created using two methods in the one design. Create the pattern by the way you add the coloured ink onto the water, and then the method of running a skewer or comb shape in a particular pattern through the ink. The combinations are endless. Draw spiral shapes with ink across the water. Draw a wave pattern with the ink across the water. Blow a series of horizontal or vertical breaths across the water. Arrange a row of toothpicks evenly spaced on a strip of polystyrene, creating a wide tooth comb, and then drag the comb through the ink. This is a fascinating art form with countless design and technique options. I hope this inspires you to explore more of this art.